Yeah. Yeah, I don't work today. No, it should be Dave's turn to run the YouTube channel. I'm off today. No, absolutely not. It's my day off. I'm not even supposed to be there today. Well, against my better judgment, I've been called in by the higher-ups of my fake company to perform the HMR here for you on Clerks, because our dear fake producer Dave fell out of a moving stagecoach and broke both of his legs. I know, just because he can't walk doesn't mean he can't record, but I got voted out on that one. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Home Media Reviews. As I stated earlier, this HMR is on the movie Clerks, Kevin Smith's directorial debut. Feature film directorial debut. He directed a couple shorts before this. Let's not waste any time, let's jump right into the history section of Clerks. So Clerks hit theaters on October 19th, 1991 in an extremely limited release. This was a true indie film. Kevin Smith financed most of this film himself. He tells this story a lot about how he maxed out his credit cards to get $27,000 as his initial budget for the film. He actually shot the movie at the convenience store where he was working at the time. However, that $27,000 was not the entire budget, because after Miramax picked up the theatrical rights to Clerks, they gave him a couple more $1,000, equivalent to $230,000 for the post-production of Clerks. And on that budget, the film grossed $4.4 million in theaters. Like I said, the movie was put out in a very small number of theaters. A lot of people first saw Clerks on VHS. I didn't first see Clerks on VHS. I saw it, I believe, on my Vudu account, probably close to 10 years ago. I had heard about Kevin Smith, and I had heard about his various opinions on things and how much of a opinionated person he was and how popular he was in the nerd film circles that I was slowly getting involved in back in 2016, 2017. I was heavy into buying films for cheap over on my Vudu account, and Clerks, I think, ended up being in a sale one time. I believe it was part of a 3 for like 15 deal. That was a legendary feature back on Vudu. I loved those 3 for 15 sales. However, as most stories go with films that I'm supposed to watch and have wanted to watch for a while, it sat on my digital shelf for a couple of years before I finally got around to watching it. The first time I saw it, I thought it was brilliant. I've seen it a couple more times since then, and it has slowly started to lose that brilliance for me. Don't get me wrong, the movie's still funny, laugh out loud funny at times. I just don't think Kevin Smith is this genius auteur as a lot of people worshipped him as back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So Clerks hit VHS on May 23rd, 1995. Again, this was how a lot of people saw it back in the day. This was the era where a film's rental life actually made up for its lackluster performance in theaters. And I believe this is what got Kevin Smith his deal to create his View Askew universe. Crazy, though, that it hit theaters in 91. It didn't hit VHS until 95. This thing was bouncing around film festivals for years before it finally got put out to mainstream audiences. There was another release on August 30th, 1995. We got Clerks on Laserdisc. It was the first letterboxed widescreen release of Clerks on a home video format. The original VHS, mostly full screen. Clerks made its debut on DVD on June 29th, 1999. Not much to say about this one, it just finally jumped onto a brand new format, although in Kevin Smith's commentary for Chasing Amy, he famously says F DVD, because apparently he doesn't like the DVD format. A couple of years after Clerks turned 10 years old, we got a special DVD release known as Clerks X. This came out on September 7th, 2004. This is a 3-disc set, which includes the first release of the first cut, where, spoiler alert, Dante dies at the end. It's one of the most what the F movie endings ever, as well as a ton of other featurettes, most of which were carried over onto the 15th anniversary Blu-ray release a couple of years later. November 22nd, 2005 brings us a DVD collection of 10 movies. It's called the Sundance Film Festival Collection, because I guess Clerks premiered at Sundance. That's fun. So this box set included Clerks, Sex, Lies, and Videotape, The Usual Suspects, Smoke Signals, American Movie, Boys Don't Cry, In the Bedroom, Real Women Have Curves, Capturing the Freedmans, and American Splendor. I've only heard of, obviously, Clerks. American Splendor, that's like a weird DC adjacent film with Paul Giamatti. Sex, Lies, and Videotape. I mostly know that one because there's an episode of The Middle that parodies that title. And of course, The Usual Suspects, directed by Bryan Singer. Really enjoyed that movie first time I saw it. November 17th, 2009 brings us the 15th anniversary Blu-ray release of Clerks. Like I said, this included all of the various featurettes from the Clerks X DVD, so this is the definitive version of Clerks to pick up on the highest quality format possible. Although for a movie like Clerks that looks like it was shot through a potato lens, you can't really make it look any better than it already did on other various home video formats, although the Blu-ray does look rather good. They definitely tried their best to clean up the picture just a little bit, while maintaining that sense of grain and grit from the original film's release. That's not all for November 17th. We also got a Kevin Smith 3-movie collection. This included Clerks, Chasing Amy, and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I haven't seen Chasing Amy. I only know that detail about the commentary from a retro blasting video.
I was from the Laserdisc generation, and as Kevin Smith famously said at the start of his Laserdisc commentary for Chasing Amy, F DVD, because at the time when DVD was new, it was garbage.
And I haven't seen Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Although, if I go off of the opinion of Arnie from Now Playing Podcast, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is not great. But that was only a measly DVD set. If we move forward to March 6, 2012, you could have picked up the Kevin Smith triple feature Blu-ray set. Meaning there's another way for you to pick up the 15th anniversary Blu-ray outside of its original packaging, and you get 2 other Kevin Smith films with it. The same ones that were included back in 2009. Or no, I'm sorry, I just checked my notes here, and the one from 2009 was a Blu-ray release, so my apologies there. The Blu-ray release was actually reprinted with new artwork on March 6, 2012. Apologies for that mix-up. But if you hadn't upgraded yet to Blu-ray, which a lot of people in 2012 hadn't yet, on May 15, 2012, you could have picked up a Kevin Smith triple feature DVD set, which included the exact same movies as before. You know, if you didn't want to make that jump to the latest and greatest format just yet. I hadn't made the jump to Blu-ray yet in 2012. That was still a year and some change out for me. May 13th, 2014 brings us a Blu-ray reprint, but it includes a ultraviolet digital copy. Ultraviolet was always interesting to me. I always got it confused with Vudu. For a long time I thought they were the same thing. But no, Ultraviolet was its own digital movie rental service that shut down a while ago, it feels like. But the Ultraviolet codes would work with Vudu, but you could only use them on one platform. You couldn't use it on both Ultraviolet and Vudu. September 22nd, 2020 brings us another reprint of the Kevin Smith triple feature set, this time on Blu-ray, and this time with digital copies all packaged in there. Why they chose to reprint this Blu-ray set in 2020, I don't know. But then again, why'd they choose to reprint the Blu-ray again a year later on July 27, 2021, but this time it's being released by Paramount? I don't know, Miramax lost the license? I'm not too sure why Paramount is releasing this Blu-ray, but it does have a digital code. That's fun. And now we've come to our final release, which may be the pinnacle of all Clerks sets. November 7th, 2023 brings us the Clerks 1 through 3 Blu-ray collection set. Surprisingly enough, Clerks 1 and Clerks 2 have never been included in a 2-pack. Not on DVD, not on Blu-ray. This is the first time that those two films have been packaged together. as well as with the third film, which was relatively new around 2023's time. And this Blu-ray collection is huge. It's in a large box with the quick stop front represented on the front of the box. On the front of the outer box, the Blu-ray cases inside resemble a VHS rental box. There's a ton of special features for all of these movies included on here. This set is, for lack of a better phrase, peak, bro. Or rather, would it be known as absolute cinema? No, of course not, because it includes Clerks too. But that brings us to the end of the history section. Let's move right along to the close-up. Alrighty, everyone. Here's your close-up look at Clerks. I believe this is the original Blu-ray release. It says 15th anniversary edition up there on the top, but I'm pretty sure this came out on Blu-ray for its 15th anniversary. The history section will correct me if I'm wrong. We got the Blu-ray disc logo up there at the top, Miramax Films logo, aforementioned 15th anniversary edition logo up there. You got all your main cast members in what looks to be like a security camera shot. It's kind of odd how they're placed there and how they look. But there's your Clerks logo. Just because they serve you doesn't mean they like you. This poster is incredibly iconic, and it's great. It tells you everything you need to know about Clerks. The spine, Blu-ray disc logo, Miramax Films, the film's logo, as well as the 15th anniversary edition, product number, and a portrait of Dante. The back features your technical specifications up at the top. Your bonus features listed all down here. You get a ton of bonus content on this Blu-ray. There's your barcode, another shot of Dante there, and you've got a blurb about the 15th anniversary Blu-ray and a blurb about the film itself. You've got some cast and crew information down there, as well as your film's rating and a couple of other little fun things, legalese and stuff like that. Slipcover comes off. Underneath, it's pretty much the same poster art. The spine is pretty much the same, and the back, what a surprise, the same. This screenshot's been moved though. It was up here, now it's down here. And on the inside, you do get a lot of little booklets here, which we'll take a look at in just a moment. But here's your Blu-ray disc. It's a very standard Miramax Blu-ray disc there. Just features the poster art, but with the main characters switched around there. And some of those pamphlets. Become a Miramax Films insider. Unlock access to Miramax news, sneak peeks, and exclusive special offers. Do you guys think this code still works? On the back, you got instructions on how to become a Miramax insider. And it's got two different options. You can buy Miramax Films on Blu-ray and DVD, or go see Miramax movies in theaters. I'm guessing this is like a Disney movie rewards or a Universal All Access type thing. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this doesn't exist anymore. And then the pamphlet behind that is a little Blu-ray advertisement. Basically breaks down all the benefits of Blu-ray and why it's so amazing. And then a breakdown of what you'll need to actually watch Blu-ray movies. And then here are some Blu-rays that you could purchase yourself. Now normally I'd say that wraps things up here for the close-up. Let's move right along to the menu tour. But I'm not saying that because it's not the end. We have one more copy of Clerks to look at here. If you guys have watched HMR over the last couple of years, you know that I've gotten really into VHS collecting. I like the format. I grew up with it as a kid. I think it's just a really cool format to collect for. But normally, I don't buy tapes online. I just can't justify spending $40 to $50 on one singular tape, unless there's something special about it. Like in the case of Clerks on VHS, because I bought this specific copy on eBay. Notice what's special about it. Not only does it come in a hard plastic shell case here, but it is signed by Kevin Smith. He signed this like promotional card thing. It's got the just because they serve you doesn't mean they like you. And I guess he signed it to a guy named Tom, because it says, Tom, what the hell's this mean? And then he signed it down there at the bottom. I don't know who owned this before me. I did reach out to the eBay seller who sold this to me at the time of filming. They have not responded. I would love to know the origins of this autograph here and who was the one that got this signature. But this is pretty freaking awesome. But the other cool thing about it is not only is it signed, this is not a standard VHS copy of Clerks. There's no other artwork on here. In fact, this is just a little promotional card that's slipped inside of a VHS hard case here. So this copy of Clerks is special because it's a screener VHS of Clerks. The little sticker label there just has Clerks, your runtime, and then NTSC letterboxed. This wasn't supposed to go out for mass retail. This was only supposed to go to like Academy people and bigwigs in Hollywood, people that hadn't seen Clerks yet. I guess around the time of award season. I'm not supposed to have this, and yet I do. So I did break one of my foundational rules. I did buy a VHS off eBay, but it was for a good cause. So we'll take a look at some footage from Clerks on a screener VHS, and then we'll move into the menu tour.
How much money did you leave up there?
Oh, like $3 in mixed change and a couple of singles. This time in the morning, people just get paper or coffee.
You're trusting.
Why do you say that?
How do you know they're taking the right amount of change or even paying for what they take?
Theoretically, people see money on the counter and no one around. They think they're being watched.
Honesty through paranoia. Why do you smell like shoe polish?
Oh, I needed shoe polish to make that sign out there. The smell won't come off.
All right, folks. Here is your menu tour for Clerks. Hey, look at that. Still got the half-price book sticker in there. It's always a fun little memory to think, yeah, I found this in an actual store. So your menu's pretty diverse. You're in front of a fridge inside of a convenience store, and there's clips from the movie playing in the reflection of said fridge. And you've also got some clips playing up in the right-hand corner up here. Your options are in tape down the left side of the fridge. You got play, and then you can play either the theatrical or the first cut of the film. And then you can also watch the theatrical cut. But you've got two different options here. You can play the movie, play with the classic commentary by Kevin Smith and a whole bunch of other people. Or you can play it with the enhanced trivia track. Interested to see, the first cut's the same amount of time as the theatrical cut is. So for bonus features, we have, oh, what a lovely tea party. The making of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Holy crap, that's a whole freaking documentary in and of itself. That's 90 minutes too. Not sure what that has to do with Clerks, but hey, we do have a animated short, Clerks the Lost Scene. Ooh, this is fun. You can watch that lost scene just by itself, or you can watch the entire movie with the scene reinserted in. So I guess technically you get 3 cuts of the movie here. We have The Flying Car, a short film made for The Tonight Show. That's fun. MTV spots with Jay and Silent Bob. Get a whole bunch of those here. Yeah, Coffee, Government Cheese, Delusions of Grandeur, Dancing Like Manson, Cable Guy, you got Puppets, Little Atlantis, Chickside Nail. We scroll down here. Theatrical trailer. We have a music video from the band Soul Asylum, Clerks Restoration. There's a couple of featurettes talking about restoring the film for Blu-ray, I assume. We have some auditions here. We have some auditions of some of the cast members like Brian O'Halloran, Jeff Anderson, Marilyn Gigliotti, I believe is how you pronounce that, and Ernest O'Donnell. Snowball Effect, which is a documentary that explores the filming and lasting impact of Clerks. Another 90-minute documentary. Dude, this thing has so much bonus content on it. Mayday, the crumbling of a documentary with intro by Kevin Smith. It's a look back at Kevin's first film school project, outtakes from the Snowball Effect documentary, and a 10th anniversary Q&A. Dude, this has so much special features crammed onto this disc. It's insane. Here you are for your scene selection menu. You've got numbers as well as screenshots and a little bar down there at the bottom telling you where you are in the film as we scroll on down here. So 18 scenes, 17 if you don't count the credits. And you can choose between the first cut and the theatrical cut here. So for setup, we don't have any options for audio. You can only choose those from the play menu there. But for subtitles, we have none. English for the hearing impaired, just standard English. Spanish, we have Portuguese. I don't know what these two languages are. I don't know what, that might be Arabic, I think. We have Portuguese, we have Basha or Bahasa, Malay, and a whole bunch of other stuff. That's Turkish, perhaps, Romanian. Again, I'm not good with other languages. If they're not English or Spanish or even French, I don't know what it is. So folks, that wraps things up for a pretty stacked Blu-ray release of Clerks. I'm very impressed with the amount of bonus content that's included on this Blu-ray. I gotta watch some of those documentaries. That wraps things up for the menu tour. Let's go ahead and head on back and answer the 5 main questions as always. Alright, so we're back from the close-up. Now it's time to answer the 5 main questions as always. Number 1, where can you pick this product up? I wish you could say you could walk into a thrift store and find a Blu-ray copy of Clerks, but for some reason, this movie eluded me on Blu-ray for many years before I finally found it at Half Price Books. And honestly, I can't remember a time since then when I've actually seen it on a thrift store shelf. I think your best bet would be searching for this online, especially if you're in the market for that Clerks 1 through 3 box set. That thing is going to be your white whale, finding it in a actual store, especially in good shape. Number 2, is this product still being printed nowadays? Pains me to say it, but no, it's not. Number 3, should you pick this product up? So our movie opens with Dante falling out of a closet while the phone is ringing. That's how we're introduced to Brian O'Halloran and the entire Clerks universe. A perfect way to open up a movie like this. When Dante arrives at the quick stop, he can't get the giant garage doors open because someone jammed gum in the locks. Creative solution to the giant garage doors not opening, writing on a giant sheet, I can assure you we are open. We're then introduced to Jay and Silent Bob, played by Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith. Jason Mewes. Seems like this guy isn't really acting here. I'm willing to bet a lot of his dialogue was improvised. It's got a rawness to it that you just can't control. I love the moment when the fake doctor is going off on Dante, calling him a Nazi, riling up all the other customers, and Kevin Smith cuts back to Jay and Silent Bob when the cigarette speech gets real intense. It's not only funny, but it's a comment on how easily people are manipulated into believing what the majority believes, even though it's fake. Speaking of the fake doctor, he turns out to be a shill for that gum company. And I love the ending part of that joke where one of the guys who was literally just pelting Dante 5 seconds ago with cigarettes just goes, "Pack of cigarettes, please." I guarantee you this movie introduced an entire generation to the meaning behind snowballing. I will not be discussing it here for obvious reasons. I don't want to get demonetized, okay? But if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I will quote this line, though, because it's hilarious. 37. My girlfriend sucked 37 dicks. In a row? Randall, played by Jeff Anderson, is the shot of adrenaline this movie was lacking. The movie's been interesting so far, but Anderson's charming personality and dialogue with O'Halloran is electric. We also learn more about Dante in the syntax chapter. Apparently he dated a girl named Caitlin who cheated on him 8.5 times. Side note, why the hell does this movie have chapter titles at the beginning of them, and why are some of them so pretentious? Some of these make absolutely no sense. The scene where Randall names all the movies with dirty titles. When I first saw this film, that scene was just laugh out loud funny to me. Now, it starts out funny, it gets kind of old towards the middle, and then by the end it becomes funny again. Randall brings up an interesting point when they talk about Return of the Jedi and the contractors that were on the second Death Star when it blew up. I'm sure Star Wars fans have been debating this issue for years. Yes, I'm sure innocent people did die when the second Death Star went up in flames, but that's the cost of war, and that's why you have to avoid it at all costs. Sorry, I didn't mean to go all morality police on a silly space franchise. Also, interesting to note here, Star Wars was like nothing in 91. No one cared about it. It was over. It was done. There was some EU books that a lot of really dedicated fans loved, but to the majority, Star Wars was nothing. So the fact that Kevin Smith was bringing it up here, that was impactful back in 91. Now in 2025, Star Wars is inescapable. We will never get rid of it. I'm looking at a Lego Star Wars logo on my desk right now. And there's a Darth Maul bust over there. There's a Grand Admiral Thrawn bust over there. There's a Death Star light right in front of me. I will never escape it. One of the best aspects of working retail is people watching. And the guy that's inspecting all those eggs is the ultimate example of it. It's definitely not the pay or the annoying customers interrupting important conversations about the second Death Star. That's definitely not a pro of retail. I lost it when the guy was chewing out Randall for using language like that in front of the customers. You both should be fired. And Randall retaliates with, "You think that's bad? Look at this." It's a whole... Oh, that part still gets me. It's a whole ass lady part just right there in front of your face. Of all 3 jobs I've held in my life, I've never once thought about playing hockey on a roof. We've played video games and some card games at my current job, as any good citizen would do, but I've never had the inclination to play hockey on a roof. And the fact that they only brought 1 ball, come on, guys. I guess I could have played hockey at the Kroger that I worked at. If I fell off that roof, it probably wouldn't hurt too bad. I'm on the 11th floor at my current job. That would probably kill me if I played hockey on that roof. This film really starts to show its seams, though, as a indie film when we're in the car on the way to the wake for one of Dante's exes. The camera will not hold still, and there's no cuts. It's just one shot going back and forth and back and forth. It's headache-inducing. Now, when I was younger, I never noticed that, but me being a 26-year-old curmudgeon, I'm starting to get a little cranky when the camera won't hold still. We gotta talk about the funeral scene here. On the Blu-ray that I've got, it includes a cut where the animated lost scene is reinserted back into the movie. It was done by the team that did the Clerks animated series. It apparently adapts the scene word for word from the original Clerks script. I, however, think the scene is funnier when it's just described. It's one of those things you shouldn't see so it doesn't ruin your expectations. It's like sitcom characters like Wilson from Home Improvement or Howard's mom from The Big Bang Theory. They're funny because we don't see them. Well, you see Wilson, but in his case, the showrunners actively come up with scenarios to hide his entire face. It adds to that gag. Here's some fun cameos I noticed here. When Randall gets to the video store that he really likes, I see behind him, there's Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, as well as Ghostbusters. Not exactly Seinfeld alumni, but fun callbacks to past HMRs. Dante is clearly making a terrible choice going back to his ex. She cheated on you, dude. Her having fun with the dead guy in the bathroom was the best thing that could have ever happened to you. Oh yeah, there's a really big Jewish stereotype early on in this movie where an old man tries to haggle with Dante for a whole bunch of different stuff to go and use the bathroom. Caitlin screwing the dead guy in the bathroom. That is the catalyst for Dante to finally say, you know what? My life sucks. I'm going to finally move forward with it. It's a shame that the old guy had to die, but from the look of what was going on under that blanket, he wasn't very sad when he left this world. Randall's speech to Dante is actually quite inspiring. Dante is already in a vulnerable position, and he just needs that one extra kick in his pants to actually move forward in his sad, pathetic life. I think these words from Randall are ones to live by. I don't pine for one and fuck the other. I do think it's a little weird later on, though, after that entire exchange with Dante and Randall, why Randall thinks it's a good idea to go and tell Dante's current girlfriend, Veronica, that he doesn't love her anymore, even though Dante came to the realization he does love Veronica. However, I see both sides to their fight. Randall, for some weird reason, was under the impression that Dante was done with Veronica and was just trying to help a brother out. Dante had just realized that he's still in love with Veronica, and if Randall had kept his big trap shut, the fight wouldn't have happened. But hey, sometimes as guys, sometimes you just gotta punch each other in order to move on. And after that fight, in the theatrical cut, that's where things end. Randall and Dante make plans to hang out the next day, and it's kind of a happy ending. I mean, Dante loses Veronica, but still, it's kind of a happy ending. However, if you watch the first cut of Clerks, Dante gets shot while he's working behind the counter late at night. This ending sucks. Kevin Smith even admitted later on that he only shot that scene that way and wrote it that way because that's your classic student film ending. All the main characters die and life is pointless. What a depressing and sad way to end a movie that up until this point has been pretty fun. This ending definitely comes out of left field, but it's awful. I'm very happy that he was pressured into changing it. So Clerks, it's quite the interesting experience, especially if you're coming back to it after you've seen it in your youth. Not only is it still funny, but it's relatable to anyone who's ever worked retail. I worked at Kroger for 7 months before I moved on to UPS and stayed there for 6 years. Yes, it's true, the customers are morons. Whoever invented the phrase, "the customer is always right," was obviously smoking whatever illegal substance Jason Mewes was on while he was filming this. However, a lot of the humor here is very juvenile. It's very much, hey, he said funny, dirty line, laugh at this. It'll definitely work for you if you like that kind of humor and you don't think it's derivative and sometimes a little too much. If you're like me, though, there are still a lot of lines here to laugh out loud at. The movie's a lot smarter than it leads on, and for a directorial debut, it's pretty much lightning in a bottle. Although it did lead to Kevin Smith thinking that his shit doesn't stink, so kind of a double-edged sword there. Yeah, I recommend Clerks, absolutely. Number 4, where should you pick this product up? Same answers as number 1. And number 5, what price should you pay? Well, if you're looking for an original Blu-ray with the slipcover, I've seen them go on eBay with the slipcover anywhere from $20 to $25. If you're looking for it without said slipcover, like if you're looking for a later Blu-ray from 2021 or so, it'll probably cost you about $15. I think I paid $20 for mine at Half Price Books. It was either $15 or $20 back at Half Price Books all those years ago when I found it. So that's your sweet spot. That 3-movie box set, though, that thing's pretty expensive over on the secondary market. They were pretty limited when they first came out, so that's breaching the $100 threshold, which I know a lot of people don't want to pay, and I understand that. I don't want to pay it either. So, folks, that wraps things up for your HMR on Clerks. Not only did we take a look at a Blu-ray during the close-up section, it's not our first screener copy of a film, but I guess you could say it's our first demo copy of a movie. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is our first time we've taken a look at something that's been autographed by the creator of said film. So what are we going to cover next week, you're asking? I'm shifting gears once again. We're moving out of 90s comedy and moving into late 2000s comedy with a film that kind of revolutionized comedy for quite a bit after it hit theaters in 2009. It did spawn 2 horrendous sequels that I refuse to go back and watch again because, ugh. The second one is literally just the first film again, and the third one's like a weird mob movie. What? So I don't know if The Hangover is going to hold up as well as I remember it. I'm certainly hoping that it does. First time I saw it, I thought it was one of the best comedies I'd ever seen, but we'll find out next week if my opinion still holds. Thank you all so very much for watching. I'll see you all then. Good night, everybody.